Welcome back to another Film Geek movie review. In just a moment, I am gonna walk my happy butt over to the futon to check out the Netflix original, Mantis. Mantis tells the story of an assassin who has taken a bit of a break for a while, and he decides that he wants to get back into the game. Now, this movie is based off of another Netflix film called Kill Bok-soon, and I don't know exactly how much they are related to each other. I did see it's not necessarily a sequel to Kill Bok-soon, it's more of a spin-off of Kill Bok-soon. Takes place in the same universe as that movie. But just to be on the safe side, I went ahead and watched the movie Kill Bok-soon to see exactly how much they're related. Do you need to watch Kill Bok-soon in order to enjoy and take everything in with the movie Mantis? So I'll answer that question. But you know what? It is enough of me sitting here jibber-jabbing around. It is time for me to get over to the futon because my faithful feline friend and my canine buddy Beans are waiting for me over at the old futon. So it's enough of the jibber-jabber. It's time for me to get over there and check out the Netflix original Mantis. Just getting done watching Mantis, and guys, I thought this movie was fun, but it is not a perfect film. So let's get this party started, shall we? We're gonna get things started with negatives, then move into the positives to end the video on the ever so important high note. Now, the first thing I want to talk about with this movie is the pacing. This film clocks in at just under 2 hours, and let me tell you folks, in certain parts of this film, you definitely feel that runtime. This movie starts off very action-packed. It also has a bit of a lighthearted vibe to it and all, and it seems like we're just gonna have a fun little action romp about these young assassins who are trying to make their way in this weird world of assassinry and all. And yeah, it has that vibe for the first half of it. But then when we get into the second half of this film, it slows down to a crawl. The now plentiful action sequences and the very finely choreographed fight sequences start to slow down. We don't start to see a lot more of the action, and everything goes into a more melodramatic area. And while it was okay for world building, and we definitely needed it to broaden the characters, it is unfortunately slows this film down to a crawl. And so for almost 45 minutes of the movie, you just kind of sit there, and yes, there is all this drama and things that are going on with our characters, and they're dealing with personal stuff and all, but the whole time you're going, wasn't this movie about assassins? And then finally we get back into the fighting and the assassin, and everything ends in a big old battle like these kind of movies are supposed to. But unfortunately there, for a good chunk of the film, it just slows down. And instead of kind of spreading out the character development and the story development, it felt like the movie makers were just like, okay, so we're gonna do action, 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 and then we're gonna throw all the story and everything right at everybody all at once, throw in the melodrama, throw in the love interest and all of this other background and blah, 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 build the lore. And that's kind of how the movie goes. And while there is some interesting parts of that, it really kind of slows this film down to the point where you get so close to just going, you know, maybe I don't need to see how this all works out. But then right when you're about to ready call it quits, the ending, the third act starts to pop up, the suspense and all of the thrills start to come back again. It just took forever to get there. So that aside, what was my positives? What did I like about this movie? Well, honestly, let's get back into those action sequences, okay? The choreography in this is outstanding. I loved the fight sequences, and I also really enjoyed the camera work in this movie. Now, I do think that the fight sequences were a bit more stylized in this film than it was in Kill Bok-soon, but there were also a lot more comedic moments, a little bit more slapstick and all in this film. It doesn't take itself nearly as seriously, and I liked that more lighthearted vibe that the beginning of this film had. It made me to a point think that this movie was going to be a lot more fun than Kill Bok-soon, and then, like I said, we're getting to that pacing, and I'm done with the negatives, so let's just keep going. So the fight sequences were outstanding. I really enjoyed all of that. The overall story, the way that this world is coming together, I like this Assassin's world. It is a really interesting, different take on the whole idea of these different, in this world, companies that do murdering. It's the best way to put it. That is what they are. That's who they are. They are just these large corporations that specialize in assassinry. So where you have in John Wick, they're different families and everything is run like that. In this one, everything is run much more corporate-like, and I thought that's kind of a neat little aspect. And if you are someone who has seen the movie Kill Bok-soon, then you also know that that one has a much more serious tone to it, where this film does start off with a much more lighthearted tone, and it also kind of starts to get that lightheartedness back as the film starts to end its climax. All in all, guys, I would have to say that this is a fun, sit down and enjoy it, watch it on Netflix kind of film, and even with its pacing issues, it does not ruin the film whatsoever, because there is some interesting stuff and some world development and all that does happen. Now, do I find this character as interesting as Kill Bok-soon? No, honestly, not really. I think that he's an interesting character that could possibly go further in the series and do much more, but as a character that I was rooting for and getting behind, I would have to say that I liked her a lot more, but I did like where this movie is headed, and I do want to see where more of this character goes. Now, when it comes down to why should you see the first film, Kill Bok-soon, in honesty, you don't really have to. You could just sit down and watch this movie. It brings up the events of that film in this one. It brings you up to date with how everything works in this universe, the rules, and so on and so forth, the way that these families work, and because of the fact that it really does focus more on the families and how all of, I keep saying families, the companies, how all these different companies work, it does not necessarily focus enough on its main character. Where the other film, Kill Bok-soon, it is just mostly focused on her and telling her story, and then everything else is just kind of in the background as we piece it together. So moving forward, I thought this was a great film. If they are going to make more of these movies, as a good platform for them to kind of jump off of from here. But in all honesty, if this is the last one, it's still going out on a bang. I enjoyed this movie. It was a lot of fun. I thought the cast was great. The fight sequences, when we get them, were very well done. If you are a fan of ultra-violent, gory action films, this is going to be something you like. If you're a gore hound, there is plenty of splatter blood all over this film. There is some pretty decent guts and glory, so on, different gross moments. So if that's your jam, then you're going to find something in this also. All in all, as I keep saying, this is a perfectly acceptable, fine, fun Netflix film that you can just watch at your leisure. So yes, this is a stream it, because it's not half bad. If you are a fan of action, if you are a fan of a martial arts film, if you're a fan of the John Wick universe, you're probably going to find something here. But just trust me, even though it gets really draggy, just stick it out because you're going to have a pretty good time. Well, that's all I have for you today, guys. Thanks again for checking out the Film Geek. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, or ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.